He's a loving father, a devoted husband, and he's currently burying a man in his own backyard. This isn't a story about a criminal. It's a story about a man who followed all the rules until the rules broke him. What happens when a good man has no other choice? The story introduces us to Yu Mansu and his family. One weekend afternoon, he's outside grilling eel on a barbecue, a special gift he received from the company, solar paper, as a reward for his years of hard work. Sitting beside him are his loving wife Miri, their daughter Riwan, and their 2 dogs. They're living in the same house where Mansu himself grew up as a child. As an adult, he bought the house back and completely restored it with his own hands. At that moment, everything feels peaceful, stable, almost perfect. It's one of those rare moments of calm in life. While hugging his family, Mansu says out loud that he already has everything a person could possibly want, and for a brief moment he truly believes it. But that comforting illusion collapses almost immediately the moment his job and social status come under threat. Mansu has worked at the factory for 25 years. Recently, the company was purchased by American investors, and shortly after that, mass layoffs began. Even employees who dedicated their entire lives to the company are being dismissed. In Korean culture, losing your job is not just a financial problem. For many people, it feels almost like a form of social death. Mansu tries to explain this to the new management, hoping they might reconsider. But the response he receives is cold and simple. The company has no other choice. The laid-off workers are sent to psychological support sessions. Counselors explain that life is not over, that new opportunities still exist, that everyone must move forward. Mansu decides to set a goal for himself. He promises that he will find a new job within 3 months, but time passes. 3 months become 6. 6 months become a year, and after an entire year, he's still working as a loader in a small store, spending his days carrying heavy boxes. One day, his phone rings. It's an old friend named Namgu. Namgu tells him about a job opening at the company where he works and offers to help him get an interview. For the first time in months, Mansu finally feels a small sense of hope. But everything immediately begins to go wrong. At work, his supervisor refuses to let him leave early, and before he can even argue, they take his uniform away from him right there at the loading dock. He's officially fired. Later that day, he still manages to attend the interview, trying to appear confident, trying to stay calm. But the situation is humiliating. His hands are shaking. His thoughts are scattered. A painful toothache keeps distracting him. Whenever the interviewer asks a serious question, Mansu answers nervously, speaking in broken sentences, sometimes saying things that make no sense at all. Even his friend Namgu can see that the interview has already failed. That evening, another unpleasant surprise is waiting for him at home. His wife, Miri, tells him she has already found a new job working as an assistant at a dental clinic with Dr. Oh Jong-ho. Immediately after that, she begins explaining a strict plan for cutting their household expenses. They will have to sell her car. They will have to replace his car with a cheaper one. And worst of all, they will have to put the house on the market. The bank has already sent them an official notice. If they cannot repay their debt within 3 months, the house will be taken away. Money is running out quickly. Soon they begin selling furniture. The piano goes next. Magazine subscriptions are canceled. Streaming services disappear. Every small comfort vanishes. And then comes the most painful decision of all. They will have to give their dogs away, at least temporarily, sending them to Miri's parents. For the children, especially little Riwan, this feels like a real tragedy. Mansu refuses to accept the idea of losing the house. When potential buyers come to look at the property, one of them begins enthusiastically explaining how he would renovate everything. He talks about replacing walls, rebuilding rooms, changing the design completely. While speaking, the man casually praises the previous owner for maintaining the house so well. Mansu stands there silently, barely holding back his anger. After the visitors leave, he notices his daughter crying beside the doghouse. At that moment, he makes her a promise. They will not move, no matter what happens. Determined to keep that promise, Mansu drives to the Monper factory and practically begs the manager to give him any position available. He becomes so desperate, so persistent, that he even manages to irritate the manager while the man is trying to use the restroom. That same evening, Mansu and Miri watch a video about Son Chol, a successful employee at one of the largest paper companies in the region. During their conversation, Miri jokingly says something unexpected. She laughs and casually suggests that if something unfortunate happened to this man, Mansu might finally have a real chance to take his position. To her, it is just a dark joke. But for Mansu, it is not a joke at all. The idea starts taking root in his mind. The next day, Mansu secretly begins following Son Cheol, watching him carefully. At one point, Sonchol is standing outside, talking on his phone. Mansu quietly climbs up to a rooftop above him, lifting a large flower pot, preparing to push it over the edge. If the pot falls, it will land directly on Sonchol's head. But a strange chain of coincidences interrupts the moment. The attempt fails. Standing there, Mansu suddenly realizes something important. Even if he removes one competitor, another person will simply appear to take his place. That realization gives him a new plan. Mansu posts a fake job advertisement online, pretending to represent a fictional company that is looking to hire specialists. His goal is simple. He wants to see exactly how many competitors he has. Soon, dozens of applications begin to arrive. One of the applicants is a man named Gu Bum Mo. Bum Mo was once a talented professional, but now he has lost his job, fallen into depression, and developed a serious drinking problem. For him, the job advertisement feels like a second chance. He stops drinking, he cleans himself up, and he sends a detailed resume describing his professional experience. Mansu carefully studies every application he receives. As he compares the candidate's qualifications with his own, he slowly comes to a disturbing conclusion. At least 3 of these men are far more qualified than he is. That is the moment when he finally crosses the invisible line inside his mind. From that point forward, the plan becomes something much darker. Mansu decides to take the next step. He orders a realistic toy gun, a replica that looks almost identical to a real firearm. Then, he secretly swaps it with an old trophy pistol that once belonged to his father. His first target becomes Gu Bum Mo. Mansu begins observing Bum Mo's house from a distance. After watching for a while, he notices something strange. A young man regularly leaves the house, carefully avoiding the security cameras. The conclusion is obvious. Bum Mo's wife is having an affair. The next time, Mansu decides to act. He hides nearby, waiting for the right moment, holding the gun and preparing himself mentally. But just as he is about to pull the trigger, something unexpected happens. Bum Mo's wife, Ara, suddenly appears. Her presence completely ruins the moment, and the shot never comes. Instead, the situation takes a strange turn. The couple ends up sitting together outside, having a spontaneous picnic. Ara lights a cigarette and begins talking about the past, remembering how she and her husband first met, remembering their younger years and the dreams they once shared. But while she talks, she also continues criticizing Bum Mo. She complains that his work never brought them financial security, that he was never able to provide the kind of life she wanted. Unable to endure another round of accusations, Bum Mo suddenly runs off to check the mailbox. Maybe the long-awaited interview invitation has finally arrived. Meanwhile, something unexpected happens to Mansu. While hiding nearby, he accidentally steps on a snake. The snake bites him. Mansu collapses to the ground almost immediately, falling right in front of Ara. She has no idea who he really is. All she sees is an injured man who needs help. So she quickly gives him first aid. For a brief moment, there's a strange, uncomfortable tension between them. Something awkward, mysterious, and unsettling. But despite this moment, Mansu still hasn't abandoned his plan. Later, he sneaks into Bum Mo's house again, hoping to find him alone. Instead, he discovers something different. Bum Mo is attending an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, and inside the house is Ara's lover. Mansu quietly leaves. But just as he is driving away, he notices Bum Mo returning home. And suddenly, something unusual happens. The man who originally intended to harm Bum Mo now tries to protect him. Mansu calls him on the phone, pretending to be a recruiter from the fictional company. He urgently invites Bum Mo to come to a job interview immediately, hoping to keep him away from the house. But the plan still fails. On the way home, Mansu stops by the dental clinic to pick up his wife. But instead of a normal meeting, jealousy takes over. He refuses to even meet the dentist. He talks to his wife through the slightly open car window. His behavior clearly shows contempt. Later, Mansu sneaks into Gu Bum Mo's house again. Bum Mo is drunk. Music from old vinyl records is blasting loudly. At first, he doesn't even understand who is standing in front of him. Mansu misses an important detail. Ara is also in the house. A tense conversation begins between the two men. Bum Mo mistakes the stranger for his wife's lover. Consumed by jealousy, he starts threatening him. Ara quietly approaches and overhears the conversation. The stranger harshly criticizes her husband. He scolds him for his passivity, for the fact that, after losing his job, he never managed to change his life. Strangely enough,
Ara is impressed by the speech. But when Mansu notices her, he panics. He jerks the gun and accidentally shoots Bum Mo in the shoulder. Chaos erupts. All three of them desperately try to grab the gun. Suddenly, Ara takes control of the situation. Mansu barely manages to escape. Bum Mo runs outside. Moments later, he is shot and killed by his own wife. One competitor is gone. Shocked by everything that happened, Mansu learns that his wife went to a ball without him. He quickly puts on a suit and rushes there, but he arrives too late. He sees Miri dancing with the same dentist. The sight pushes him over the edge. Mansu storms out of the event. He drives back to Bum Mo's house. There, he finds Ara and her lover burying the body. Standing in the pouring rain, he digs up the hidden pistol and takes it with him. Later that night, another argument begins between him and Miri. Both of them are suspicious of each other. The fight drags on. Their conversation turns into endless accusations, jealousy, and frustration. Each believes the other is hiding something. At some point, Mansu simply can't take it anymore. He bangs his head against the wall, then walks out to his greenhouse. The next day, he moves on to the next target, Ko Si-jo, a shoe store salesman. When Ko Si-jo sees his daughter enter the store, he hesitates. He tries to leave, but Mansu smoothly gains his trust. He pretends to be a customer. He even promises to return later that evening with his daughter to try on shoes before closing. But in reality, he has a completely different plan. On the highway, Mansu stages a car breakdown. He keeps repeating the same words. There's no other choice. There's no other choice. Ko Si-jo stops to help the stranger. Mansu pulls out the gun. He closes his eyes, but he cannot pull the trigger. Then suddenly a shot is heard. Another competitor is gone. That day, Mansu fully crosses the line. He hides Ko Si-jo's body in the trunk of the car, then drives away. But he forgets a shell casing at the crime scene. The only idea that comes to his mind is simple: bury the body in his own backyard. He digs the hole until dawn, then collapses from exhaustion on the living room floor. The next night, a teenager climbs onto the roof to smoke. He notices a light inside the greenhouse. Curious, he looks closer. What he sees is disturbing. The walls are covered with plastic, and his father is holding a chainsaw, preparing to do something horrifying. But Mansu cannot bring himself to finish the job. Instead, he ties the body with wire, then buries it in the prepared hole, and plants a tree above it. Soon, detectives arrive at the house. People who responded to the same job advertisement have started disappearing. The police connected the cases through a phone found in a car. A manager had called that number offering a job, and mentioned that this was already the second missing candidate. During the conversation, the detectives notice something strange. Mansu almost slips. He speaks as if he already knows the candidates are dead. Before leaving, the detectives warn him. The criminal has not been found yet. Despite the police visit, Mansu continues following his plan. Now only one competitor remains, Sun Chol. The man recognizes him. They once crossed paths near the office restroom. Back then, Mansu was begging a manager for a job. Mansu pretends to admire him. He says he follows him on social media, then offers to have a drink together. Sun Chol is in a good mood, already slightly drunk. He easily agrees. Mansu begins getting him drunk. Meanwhile, he secretly pours out his own alcohol, staying sober himself. At the same time, Mansu's stepson tells Miri something strange. The night before, he saw his father in the greenhouse, doing something frightening, as if he was about to cut something that looked like a body. Back at the table, the conversation becomes more open. Mansu talks about his professional achievements. Sun Chol believes he has met a kindred spirit. He even suggests that Mansu could become his assistant someday. For a moment, Mansu's conscience awakens. He begins doubting his plan. Then, Sun Chol pulls out some beer. He suggests making a strong mix. Mansu can't refuse. For the first time in 9 years, he drinks again. After such a long break, the alcohol hits him hard. He loses control, acts strangely, and impulsively pulls out the tooth that had been bothering him. Riding that wave of madness and relief, he suggests continuing the evening outside, by the fire in the yard. Meanwhile, Miri goes outside. She wants to check what her son told her. Something draws her toward a freshly buried spot in the garden. Sitting by the fire, Mansu is filled with doubt. He doesn't want to hurt Sun Chol. But if he stops now, the deaths of the other two competitors will be meaningless. Eventually, Sun Chol passes out from alcohol and exhaustion. Mansu digs a hole, places the man inside, and buries him up to the neck. At the same time, Miri begins digging in the yard. Her shovel suddenly hits something solid. A terrifying realization dawns on her. Gathering her strength, she calls her husband. Mansu is on the way to another interview. Excited, he tells her he is very close to finally getting the job. Miri does not speak directly about what she found. Instead, she carefully says something else. No matter what he has done, she will stay by his side, because she believes he did it for the family. After the call, she lies to her son. She says their father buried a pig in the garden to fertilize the soil. Mansu frantically crushes sausage into a paste. With shaking hands, he tries to push it through a funnel into Sun Chol's throat, then pours alcohol over it. He drinks as well, as if trying to silence his own panic. When Sun Chol suffocates, Mansu moves the body into the house. He stages the scene, making it look like a tragic accident, as if the man simply drank too much alcohol. Ironically, something similar almost happened to Mansu years ago. That was the reason he stopped drinking for so long. At dawn, Mansu returns home. Miri is waiting for him. She is cold, distant. She understands exactly what her husband has become. Yet she still hugs him. Not because she approves, but because she convinces herself there was no other way. Once all the competitors are gone, Mansu easily passes the interview. The company explains something surprising. Most of the factory is now automated. Almost all workers were laid off. They only need one operator, someone to monitor the robots. The dogs return home. The children missed them terribly. The house fills with life again. Later, the police visit Mansu once more. They explain the progress of the investigation. The official theory becomes clear. Gu Bam-mo may have been responsible for the disappearance of Ko Si-jo. They once worked in the same company. Bam-mo's wife, Ara, strongly supports this version. She talks about his drinking, his depression after losing his job, and the illegal weapon he owned. Ara works part-time in a theater, so pretending to cry and beg the police to find her husband was easy for her. Everyone believes he simply ran away. Eventually, the case is closed. On Mansu's first day at work, Miri and their son see him off. Her face shows a strange mix of pride and bitterness. She knows the terrible price of this victory. People die for paper. Their daughter, Ri-wan, who has noticeable differences in how she perceives the world, suddenly starts playing the cello at home. Before this, she only played at music school. Now she has listeners, her mother, and the dogs. Her teacher says the girl may have a great musical future. Mansu begins his new shift. He cannot hide his happiness. He controls the robots, monitors the paper production line. He is glowing with pride. He believes he achieved everything. He saved his job, his family, and his status. This is not an action movie, and not a story about a hero defeating enemies. This is a story about an ordinary man. A man pushed into a situation where fear, social pressure, and obsession with work slowly erase the boundaries of morality. In the modern world, work is often placed above health, above family, above life itself. And when a person begins believing their value is defined only by their job, they easily lose their moral compass. No job is worth a human life. Take care of yourself, and take care of your loved ones.